We'll talk about content distribution networks. These are the networks responsible for getting information on the World Wide Web to you in a fast, timely manner. A content distribution network, or a CDN, usually employs a lot of different computers, servers, networked across the world to deliver media, text, data, video, whatever kind of media content to an end user. This usually provides content providers a way to serve a large capacity or a large demand. So if you can imagine users all across the world trying to get to the latest Star Wars video trailer, movie trailer, how is that actually served? Do all those millions of Star Wars fans out there all connect to one single server to download that trailer or view the trailer? No way, that would never survive all those requests. So what the content provider does is they take copies of that video and push it out to all the edges, edge servers that they have, and then users connect to those edge servers to actually receive the content. The result is that you have a much better experience for the end user or whoever's requesting that video. You actually see this implemented by a couple different ways. You have Akamai out there. They're probably one of the largest content distribution networks out there that host this content for the content providers. And if you go to CNN.com, if you look at the various things that get loaded, you'll frequently see that content from CNN is hosted by a site called cdn.turner.com. So there are service providers out there like Akamai who do content distribution networks, and there are also private CDNs like the one Turner Networks has built for CNN and some of its other properties. The way this works is through a concept called edge caching, the idea that you're taking all of this content and you're pushing it to the edges of the internet. Edge being, closest endpoint to the actual person sitting at home who wants to view that content. You end up with a lot of geographically separated servers out there. The more geographically separated it is, the more of them that you have out there, the better the experience for the end user, because let's say they're sitting in Australia and they're trying to get to content on YouTube servers, which might be hosted in, let's say, Silicon Valley, California. Rather than having to make that request from Australia all the way to Mountain View, California, what happens with a CDN is that there's a server there in Australia. Let's just arbitrarily say Sydney. So now the user only has to hit the server in Sydney to receive the content, as opposed to coming all the way across the Pacific to Mountain View and getting the content from there. With content delivery networks, they're effective because the routing handles the connection to the CDN itself. And so you don't have to do anything with regard to, is user in Australia, therefore, serve from, server in Sydney. The routing protocols take care of all of that for you. And the result is that you have very high availability, very good scalability, because as your content demand increases, you can just add servers to the CDN network. The downside to this is that all of this information on all the CDN servers has to be synchronized with the master copy. So back to the example of a video on Facebook or YouTube, that video has to be synchronized with all the CDN servers out there in the world. But that only has to happen once. Once that's done, everybody can hit the CDN networks, the servers on the CDN network, and see that content. So a graphic of this, you can see that on the right side of the screen you have end users. They're requesting content from an edge server. This is that globally distributed network. These are servers all over the world that host this content. And then you've got your origination server up here, and that's what's doing the synchronizing, the initial push of content to the edge servers. And it's what maintains that content in sync. So the end result here is that the end user there on the right doesn't have to communicate with the master origin server up here, and it doesn't overload this single server. There are three different elements that you should be aware of with a content delivery network. The request, these are protocols for actually intercepting the request that an end user makes and making sure they get sent or get the right content. There are distribution channels which determine whether to answer that with the actual data or to proxy that request back to one of the origin servers. And then there's the concept of delivery that is responsible for making sure that the content gets from wherever it is being hosted, be that on an edge server or the origin server, making sure that content gets down to whoever's requesting it. There are issues of trust and security related to content delivery networks. Unfortunately, a lot of implementations assume that your content delivery network is secure because, well, I set it up, it's part of my website, therefore it must be secure. And unfortunately, that's not the case. There have been several high-profile watering hole attacks that affect these types of content delivery networks and end up serving massive numbers of malware or massive amounts of malware to credible number of users because everybody is hitting that particular site. There was an interesting case with the MSNBC properties, media properties, a few months ago probably, where somebody had compromised something on the content delivery network and was serving malware to any visitor to MSNBC, NBC, or any of the NBC family websites. What that causes is a whole bunch of downstream effects because some organizations do a whitelisting approach, or they may say, or some type of reputation analysis on websites. And they'll say that MSNBC or NBC, this is a known good site, it's a legitimate site, it's not going to be serving malware, and so they allow that trust to propagate down to their users. But what's happened is by compromising that NBC content delivery network, I've now violated that assumption that that is a safe website. But most of the whitelisting applications out there will just look at that site and go, oh, it's NBC, therefore it's okay. Another interesting example, this was a covert watering hole attack against a content delivery network run by the Afghanistan government. Was suspected as the attack was suspected as coming from a China-based group, but essentially they had compromised a JavaScript file on the content delivery network, and they were using it to do drive-by attacks with cross-site scripting attacks against visitors to the Afghanistan government website. And so you had sites from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Finance, Justice, Ministry of Education, all affected by this. So what happened is anybody visiting those ministry websites would actually get hit with this malware because it's being hosted by a trusted platform, the Afghanistan ministry websites. An analysis of this from Threat Connect essentially boiled down to you end up with a watering hole attack here where you've got all of these users of the Afghan government website who believe that network is secure, it's legitimate, it's not servemalware.com or anything like that. So you would expect this site to be legitimate. It's actually been hacked into such that it's providing malware or serving malware to anybody viewing this content delivery network. And so you have a lot of victims within the Afghan government, just government computers who are now being hit with this malware. In addition, you have public users, citizens or journalists or anything else, being hit by this as well when they go visit this government website. So from an attacker perspective, this is a great thing to do because you get your malware spread rapidly. And it doesn't require phishing, doesn't require emails. You just modify the website and let people download it, and it does all your attack propagation for you. So how do you secure a content delivery network? Well, there's not a whole lot you can do other than adopt a traditional defense in depth strategy. You can do malware scanning. You can look at who's changing content on the CDN. What's up there. You can look at filtering the content. You can do things proactively with threat intelligence. But at the end of the day, you're trying to make sure that the content that's up there content that is up there is secure and safe for users because of that trust factor. A lot of users are trusting the fact that your content delivery network is a trusted site. It's somebody I know, therefore it all must be secure. And so the challenges with securing a CDN rest around you don't want to violate that trust, and you want to make sure that you're not serving malware through your CDN.